Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the Haunt Collection Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Chris Codina, and this week we're going with another random one. I went to creepypasta.com, clicked on, Taste Random Pasta or whatever, and what's come up is a story called Snow. It was posted on April 8th, 2014, and it is rated 8.1 out of 10. From 354 votes. So pretty highly rated, but yeah, we don't know if that's true. I hope it is. Hope it is worth 8 stars out of 10. Yeah, not too much else to go into this week, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump on in. Like I said, this is called Snow. If you want to read along, of course, as always, I will post the link in the description. A beautiful snowfall, the first since Kara had moved into the small, cozy house she had rented. It was in the country, and the perfect place to complete her online university classes while also fulfilling her lifelong dream of becoming a starving science fiction writer specifically. The elderly couple she rented it from, whose grandchildren she had babysat, had left the Midwest for a warmer climate after their retirement. They had taken pity on her as they knew that her mother, her only relative, had died of a drug overdose after many years of addiction. They allowed her to stay for next to nothing in exchange for keeping the property in order. For many 20-somethings, living alone in such a big, secluded house would be boring or scary, but for Kara, who had previously only lived in cramped and filthy inner-city apartments, it was absolutely amazing. Okay, not bad. Like in our little introduction paragraph, we have our secluded author, as we like to see in horror so often, but or secluded artist. Did I say author? No, yeah, it is an author, science fiction writer. Never mind. But yeah, that's something that we see often in horror, which is fine. I'm not complaining about that. It's we do that, right? Yeah, so we have secluded country house in the winter. Lots of makings for some classic horror tropes, I guess, but I'm not complaining about that. That's not really criticism necessarily, just saying we have a pretty classic horror setup here. Yeah, I'm fine with this intro. We got introduced to our character Kara, and we got her backstory. So let's see where it goes next. This is partly why she was so enchanted by the snowfall. Though she liked to fancy herself as a serious and solitary artist, the allure of the snow just drew her in. She bundled up and went outside for a peaceful walk through the beautiful scenery. A huge yard with a barn at one end and a small pond at the other. The quaint view, along with the peaceful silence that only snow can create, put her in a happy mood, and she was feeling very calm and happy by the time she came back to the house. Just as she stepped up onto the first stair leading to the door of the house, a movement in the snow caught the corner of her eye. For a reason she couldn't explain, her heart skipped a beat, and she felt the urge to run inside and lock the door. The feeling only lasted a split second, but it took her a moment to collect herself. She cautiously looked back at what had moved, and that's when she saw it. A tiny, pure, white kitten, maybe 2 months old. She had to laugh at herself for being startled by such an innocent little creature. She glanced around for its mother, thinking of all the semi-feral cats living on the property. She didn't remember any of them having kittens, and in this cold weather, they mostly took refuge in the barn or the garage. Either way, this kitten was alone, and it was less than 30 degrees outside. She scooped him up and, almost on impulse, decided to keep him. She had never had a pet before, and could just picture him curled up beside her as she wrote or studied. The more she thought about it, the more she thought it was a good idea. Okay, like I said, I'm interested so far. We have, mysterious cat, pure white kitten in the snow. I like it. Just, implied something's going to be up with this cat, but we'll be interested to see where it goes with that. It could be, swerving us, and it's not the cat at all, it's something else, something like that. But yeah, it's, like I said, there's I'm liking it so far. It's pretty decently written. It feels like a little bit of a cookie cutter setting, but like I'm not really complaining about that yet. It's a few, it's like when you're creating a character in a video game and you kind of have the presets and all that, like for the like the dimensions of the face and all that, and you just don't really mess with them because like they look better than what anything you could do. So yeah, this person seems to be taking the okay, we have a shy artist stuck in the country alone, and in the winter and all that, and they're sort of serious and mature, but also, hey, let's go play in the snow. It feels like stuff we've seen before, but like I said, that's not necessarily always a bad thing. It's okay. It depends on what you do with it, right? I think I've said it before. There's always that whole thing. Like, there's only so many stories to tell, and they've been told already, so it's a matter of what you do with them now. And, yeah, so I'm not complaining about that at all. Like I said, I'm liking this so far, or at least I'm interested. We're a few paragraphs in. So let's continue and see. Fighting the urge to name him after a science fiction character, she settled on the easier to spell Snowy. She was amazed that he wasn't freezing as she wrapped him in a blanket and rummaged through her landlord's cabinets for pet supplies. He must have just left the garage and wandered too far out in the cold. She found some cat food and watered it down for him. To her relief, he scarfed it down gratefully. She carried him through the big house and down to the finished basement where she lived. Furnished only with bookshelves of science fiction, books, a bed, and a cluttered desk, she thought the presence of a little cat curled up in the corner made it so much homier. All thought of studying or writing was lost for the rest of the day in favor of playing with her new pet. Did I read that right? Okay, so she's living in the basement, but she's living in the house alone, right? Yeah, she's living alone in a big house. I'm curious why the basement? It seems like a strange place to kind of make your home base. If you're living in this big house alone, you have this whole place to yourself, and you go for the basement. I guess it's like not that far fetched. It just seems kind of strange. It's a curious choice. That night, however, she had trouble sleeping. She woke in the middle of the night and had the horrible feeling that someone was watching her. She laid there in silence with her eyes shut, hoping that if she didn't acknowledge the feeling, it would go away. It only got worse, however. As the night wore on, her heart raced, and she fought to keep her breath even. Hours later, she finally drifted into an easy sleep, but was still relieved when morning rolled around. Though there were no windows in the basement, it was as if a fog was lifted. The entire atmosphere of the room shifted. Okay, so, yeah, it doesn't seem like too much to sink our teeth into there. Like, she's has a bad feeling while she's sleeping, or while she's trying to sleep and all that. And, yeah, morning, was it, like, what's the Simon's Quest thing? Morning is driven away the horrible night, whatever. Yeah, let's see, what's next? During the night, the light snowfall had turned into a storm, and the temperature had dropped 20 degrees. Kara had no plans to go anywhere, but the knowledge that she couldn't bothered her more than she had expected it to. She tried to write, but she just couldn't focus. After struggling for a while, she decided it was useless to continue working and instead curled up with Snowy and sought some peace of mind in her favorite novel. This provided a measure of escape, but when night rolled around, she dreaded getting in bed. She put it off for as long as possible, but eventually exhaustion won out. She fell asleep easily, but woke up a few hours later, just as before. This night, just as before. Okay, so I'm not going to nitpick that too much, but that, like obviously we repeated just as before like twice, and it's kind of awkward. I repeat words all the time when I write, and it bothers me. I hate doing that, so I know the struggle of like, trying to find the right word and phrase, and you just keep going back to the same one. Yeah, it's a pain. So yeah, it's a minor grammatical nitpick, I guess. But yeah, I'm just pointing it out because I read it and it was awkward to me. So, anyways, this night, just as before, she woke up with an uneasy feeling. She was determined not to spend another night as miserable as before. That's another before thrown in. So she forced herself to open her eyes. She slowly turned her head towards the center of the room and saw a pair of bright red eyes staring back. She wanted to scream, but was frozen with fear. Slowly and deliberately, she closed her eyes and opened them again. This time, the eyes she saw were yellow and belonged to little Snowy. What was wrong with her? She still felt frozen with fear. Without thinking, she quietly said, "Snowy?" And the cat immediately ran over and snuggled next to her in bed. She hid her face in his fur and tried to sleep, but couldn't do it. Okay, so did the red eyes belong to the cat, or is there something else, and the cat is, the red herring with the red eyes? Let's we'll find out. But yeah, eventually she decided that maybe she just needed to get up and out of the basement. She got up, forcing the kitten to jump to the ground, and groped her way down the wall towards the knob. Though the room was near pitch black, she kept her eyes shut tightly. She found the door, but as her hands desperately roamed the frame, she didn't feel the knob. She forced herself to open her eyes. The knob was right in front of her. She didn't know how she missed it, but now she noticed something. An unnatural red light coming from behind her. Instinctually not wanting to have her back towards the possible threat, she slowly turned around. Alright, I'm going to be a little critical here. That image of the, she didn't want her back towards the threat, so she slowly turned around. That felt so, staged from a movie. Like, you could picture, the person trying to get out, and then you hear the noise, and then they slowly turn for dramatic effect. I don't know, that seems so fun. That seems funny to me. I'm not picking on it too harshly, but yeah, I'm reading that, and I'm picturing, that stereotypical scene. I hope whatever this reveal is interesting. Because like I said, the writing is pretty solid so far, and it started off strong. This little middle part has kind of been whatever. It's just sort of okay, she's having a bit. It's moving fast enough that I don't think the story's very long. But, yeah, I'm waiting for something a little more creepy to happen. It's just sort of I had a bad feeling, and then I had a bad feeling, and then I saw some red eyes, and it's just sort of, yeah, the horror is, falling flat a little bit so far. But like I said, it's moving fast, I think, so we might wrap it up here for one big punch rather than, any sort of, real, drawn out tension and suspense. So, let's see. What's next? The light was coming from everywhere, and from nowhere. It simply bathed the room. Snowy had jumped up onto a bookshelf, and now jumped down. The shadow cast in the eerie light was not of a cat, however, but of a grotesquely hunched human-like creature. Kara forgot about leaving the room and stumbled backwards, pressed against the door. She was unable to pull together a complete thought. Terror held her in its grip. All she could do was curl in on herself, close her eyes, and repeat fragmented bits of the Lord's Prayer as the cat slowly and deliberately walked across the room towards her. But it was too late for that nonsense. I left the house only hours later, walking through the frigid temperature on icy roads, possessing Kara's body and holding a kitten. As the stray kitten had provided a way into Kara's life, the stray girl would surely get through to another soul. It eventually came to another farmhouse, tears in its eyes, to tell a story about a car crash and walk through the cold. Who could turn down such innocent creatures? That's the end. We have a note here. Thanks to Lucy Purr for what was possibly trolling in the prompts section. Satan as a kitten, indeed. Credited to, appropriately enough, Cat. K-A-T-T, Cat. Okay, so, yeah, this fell flat a little bit, right? Which is kind of a shame. I was excited at the beginning. But I see, there was some prompt, Satan is a kitten. So, yeah, this was a demon possessing a little cute cat, and it possesses her. Yeah, I guess, it must have some sort of, reality bending issues where, she couldn't find the doorknob, and with the red light, just bathing the room for no apparent reason. Well, the reason was to show the shadow of the cat was not the cat, I guess. Like, that's the reason the light was there, was to give her a reason to turn around and to give the reveal. Yeah, so it's just, like I said, it felt like it was strong, and then it's just kind of like, okay, I need to get to this whole thing where the cat's possessed. Yeah, it's kind of just, like I said, I'm kind of disappointed. Like, I don't want to, be like a jerk about it, but yeah, it's not an 8.1 stars worthy. I think the writing is solid. It doesn't necessarily read like creepypasta doesn't mean anything anymore. The word doesn't mean anything. So basically what I'm saying, like, this reads like a prose short story. It doesn't have that, like, realism to it of classic creepypasta, but a lot of creepypastas, quote unquote, don't anymore. But, yeah, like I said, the writing is solid for the most part. I kind of liked in the early paragraph how they were painting the picture. I liked the sort of characterization it gave Kara, and then it all just kind of fell to the wayside for the short and quick build up to the twist. Yeah, it's one of those, like, I either wish it was stretched out a bit or would have been a little something different with the cat. I see that there's, the prompt, so hands were a little tied. Cat's hands, the author, Cat, her hands are a little tied about what exactly to make the story about. But, yeah, I wish there was a little more thought put into what the horror was in the story, where the story went. Because it was just kind of like, okay, the cat's possessed and it possesses her. I'm kind of curious as to what its motivations are. It didn't do anything to the cat and it took her over, but what is it going to do? Like, it doesn't, it didn't have to, if its intention was to, like, harm her somehow, it didn't. It could have, I assume, done something to her, either as the cat or while it had possession of her body, and then take over the cat, or, I don't know, maybe because of the cold, it needs something that can survive the cold. I don't know. So I'm curious as what this, demon or whatever its motivation is. Like, it's saying, okay, it'll come in and, like, it doesn't, yeah, it says it possesses Kara's body. It's not like possessing both. It's not like it's like a virus where it's spreading. It just seems like it's, one entity that's jumping bodies. But I'm curious as to why. Like, what is its motivation? Is it, in her body, is it going to hurt people? I don't know. That's not clear. Yeah, that's my biggest issue with it, is that it just sort of why, I know, like, not necessarily, know the motivations of these, otherworldly entities, but yeah, it just seems like it's just doing stuff for fun. And also, why did it wait? It had her the night before, and it didn't do anything. There was nothing really stopping it. It could have done this at any time. It doesn't say, like, there was a specific moment it had to wait. She's been alone the whole time. Once she picked the cat up from the snow, it could have possessed her. Like, there's nothing stopping it as far as we know. There's really no rules established. So, yeah, from a technical standpoint, the writing is okay, but from content-wise, it's a little rough. Let's take a look at some of the comments here. I imagine there's 25 comments from the Buzzwell. Quite good, actually. Like the style of writing, it held my interest. Also, how the kitten wasn't black or satanic. The kitten, those satanic cats. I know those cats that look satanic, right? They have horns and like the pointy tail and stuff. but an innocent white. Also, the silhouette description was creepy. Bravo. Very tasty. Orange Flask responds to this. Actually, I don't think it was white to make it seem innocent. White usually represents perfection and holiness. I think it was white because what better disguise for an evil cat? Which is kind of what the person said before, whatever. Purple Rocket says, what? I'm confused. Okay. Red Elephant says, good pasta, but I've tasted it before. The possessed animal taking over a person plot is a little overplayed. Keep trying. Is the possessed animal specifically taking over person thing? Like, I mean, like I said, I was saying that there was a lot of, things plucked from other things here, kind of, tropey stuff. But is possessed animal specifically? Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't read enough creepypasta. Blue Tag Boo did not live up to expectations in the slightest. I agree. Random DJB says, I don't get it. The last part much did the girl... I don't get the last part much. Did the girl get ran over when she saw the cat? Or did, something killed her and the cat knew it and just listened to it? Or Super Cat? Huh. I don't get this comment. I'm not sure what story this person was reading. Unless there was, crazy edits to this that I didn't notice. I don't know. We have another one from Abigail complimenting the coloring of the cat. I love how you didn't make the cat or make it have glowing green eyes or anything. Glowing red eyes. But you made it Snow White and have normal yellow eyes, except for when they're red. You made the little kitten seem so innocent, and you also made it sound original. The plot wasn't overused. Very well written. I loved it. 9 out of 10. Anyways, a lot of people like that the cat looked innocent and didn't, the cat wasn't obviously evil, I guess. Oh yeah, I know someone says that the problem with the story is that the opening paragraph, the house is described as both small and cozy and big and secluded. Is that true? Let me look at that. Yeah, moving to a small cozy house and then a big secluded house. I didn't even notice that. Good catch. Who said that? Who said that? Where are you? From Lala, I believe that name is. Unless it's an I in the front, then it's Eola. Something like that. Yeah, good catch. I did not catch that. Yeah, that's funny that in the... So maybe I should take back my technical lack of criticism too. I didn't even notice that. What am I doing this show for? How did I not notice that they described the house in the opening sentence that it was this small and cozy, and then at the end of the paragraph it's big and secluded. Man. Oh boy, I can't believe I missed that. I'm going to keep saying that. I can't believe I missed it because if anybody's listening, they're probably were yelling at me like, what are you talking about? This well-written thing. Yeah, wow. I'm giving the keys up. Because I need somebody else to read with me so they can catch this stuff. Because, yeah, whew, boy. I thought of this too, but I didn't mention it. The comment from Clover. I really like this, but why did she have cat food if she didn't own a cat? I mean, in no way ruins the story. Just wondering. I also thought of that, but I guess maybe, the previous owners had a cat or something. They said it was fully furnished. She rented from somebody. It's easy enough to write off that, oh, hey, here's some cat food because, the people who were renting or whatever before her had it. Yeah, so that about does it for the comments. There's a lot of praise for it, which I don't really agree with. But yeah. So this was an interesting one. I'm really liking reading these ones that I don't know about. Although I'll probably do one that I do know and one that's a little more well known pretty soon, just because. But yeah, this was an interesting one. It definitely started off with promise, except for the aforementioned issue with describing the house. Yeah, like I said, as with so many of these stories, it just sort of fell off. It had this idea, and it just ran towards it, and it didn't really do anything to build suspense. It didn't really pay off or anything like that. I did notice a comment. I didn't really mention it. Like the jump from, the cat was approaching her, and then it just jumps to her possessed and going through the snow and all that. That's not bad. The person was complaining about it. I've already scrolled up. I didn't see who commented it. Yeah, I don't mind that. Didn't really need to know what happened. Yeah, so that's Snow by Cat. I think that's about all I have to say about it. I think we covered it, right? Yeah, so I think we'll cut it off here. So I will see you next week. Later.